Many men I work and socially hang out with carry a weak frame. Sometimes it creates tension between their blue pill mindset. What do you recommend, and what are your thoughts? To what? To dealing with them? Um, the reason why most guys have quote unquote weak frame is because they just don't have anything to back that frame up in the first place. There's two ways to oh wait, here we go. I forgot to add. I feel sometimes my frame is too strong and too aggressive. No such thing. Now, frame. If you're going to ask me about frame is dependent on a lot of different things. Now, so if you talk about money, muscles, and game, right? I look at those as sort of like the trifecta. Like if you look at any male self-improvement podcast, they are going to base their topics, or they're going to base their entire format around one of those things, or combinations of those things: money, muscles, game. Thank you, John from MLD, for coming up with that. Credit where it's due. I don't look at frame as something separate from that. I look at frame as the sum total of money, muscles, and game, or health, wealth, and relationships. However, if you want to say it nicely, right? A frame is what makes you, like, what is, if you want to know what frame is, like, answer this question for me. What makes you respectable? What have you done? Are you in shape? Or do you look good? How old are you? Are you good looking? Are you in good shape? Are you take care of your physique? That's the muscles part. What have you done professionally? What have you done to give back to society? Have you written a book? Have you written music? Have you, are you an artist? Are you a creator? Have you created some new app? Have you done something, that's respectable? And that could be for health, wealth, or relationships, right? So that's based on your burden of performance. So you have to remember, and I'm giving away my book, Reignite, because all of this I'm talking about is in my latest book, Reignite, where I show you guys how all of those seemingly disparate concepts are all interconnected. So frame is technically dependent on your burden of performance. How well do you perform? And that burden of performance is applied over money, muscles, and game. So the frame is a sum total of money, muscles, and game as defined by your burden of performance, as also defined by your mental point of origin and your mindset. Okay. So mental point of origin is something that I developed over the years. This is unique to the rational male, no matter what everybody says. But it's who do you think of first? What is the first thought that comes into your mind when you're faced with a decision, small or large? So you essentially, like, the reason why mental point of origin I stress quite a bit is because from a very early age, boys across the last 4 or 5 generations now are systematically conditioned to put anything and everything outside themselves before themselves. So you always have to think of other people first, right? Rich Cooper once said, like, we teach our boys to do the right thing, but we teach our girls to do what's right for them. That goes back to mental point of origin, which is the do the right thing is usually the right thing for someone else. Like be sacrificial, be self-sacrificial. Think of others before you think of yourself. And usually that other is family, mother, employer, military, father, whatever, wife, girlfriend, potential girlfriend, and then you. Right. And it, depending on in the book, I call it cognitive stack. Right. So if you've seen the movie Inception, right, you got to get down all the way, like, I go through the layers of Inception down to the first originating germ of the idea. And there's a top, one of those little spinning things at the bottom of it. Right. What's that spinning thing? That spinning thing has to be you. Is it a top? I forget what it is. That has to be, don't say dreidel. Fuck you. That's you. That should be you. But from the time you're 5 years old, your female teachers will beat it out of you that you need to be more in touch with your feminine side. You need to be you need to consider others before you consider yourself. You need to Be a servant. Be a servant leader. Right. Your church will teach you that. Your gynocentric, education system will teach you to essentially put out of your mind anything except for yourself, right? Or put into your mind anything but yourself. And so usually guys fill that in with, well, I have to do these things so that I can be acceptable for a woman at some point, right? And tradcons are still very good at reinforcing that. Feminism, not so much lately, but that has definitely been an order of business for them. But that's mental point of origin. So your mental point of origin is going to affect your burden of performance, which is then going to affect money, muscles, and game, which then affects what? Your frame. So having said that, go watch Owen Cook and have him tell you about frame. Frame can be faked very well. The manifestation, the confidence, the irrational self-confidence of being something other than you are. It's like the fake it till you make it, right? Act like a king to be treated like a king. Well, there's a law of power that says something close to that, right? So yeah, appearances are everything. Perception is everything. Self-perception is everything. But real frame is based on the summation, the aggregate of money, muscles, and game. Confidence, which is derived from options, which is derived from action. And so your frame is, I think frame is much more difficult to wrap your head around when it comes on a personal basis. Now, frame itself is, like I said, a social, it comes from social science or social psychology, right? So frame is easy to understand in the sense that, like, when you go to your employer, if you're working 9 to 5 from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you're in your supervisor or your employer's frame. If you're in the military, you goddamn know you're in your CO's frame. If you're a kid, if you're a child, you're in your parents' frame. And so it's like whose dominant psychology, whose dominant imperative is controlling what you do. And that's really the basis of frame. And your own personal frame is developed from money, muscles, and game, burden of performance, and your mental point of origin, which relates to your mindset, right? That's how it really breaks down. That's kind of crazy. So real frame is automatic. Yeah, kind of. Frame is, whatever your frame is kind of, like, you can either control your frame or your frame can control you. All right. People who are unaware of their frame are still working within someone else's frame. It's craziness to think that you're not, right? You're doing it all the time. You just don't realize you're doing it.